This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
Good afternoon. We are coming on the air right now because the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has just announced that he has a new chief of staff. Reince Priebus, his current chief of staff, is out. The new chief of staff, his Secretary of Homeland Security, General John Kelly, will be the new chief of staff. We're going to put up the tweet right now. That is how the president announced it. He said, "I am pleased to inform you that I've just named General Secretary John F. Kelly as White House chief of staff. He is a great American." There are a lot of dots there. It appears there is more to come right here. I want to quickly go to our chief national security anchor, Martha Raddatz, for more on General Kelly. Strong supporter of the president for these last several months at the Department of Homeland Security. Clearly the president impressed by him, not so much by Reince Priebus.
He sure has been a strong supporter of the president there at Homeland Security. George, he backed that travel ban. He backs that wall dividing Mexico and the United States. He is, of course, a former Marine. President Trump was impressed with him immediately. As you know, he has surrounded himself with several former senior officers, including Jim Mattis, H.R. McMaster, but it is General Kelly who has been a stand-up, and I believe that is because he has been so outspoken in his support of the president.
Absolutely staunch supporter right there. Unconventional pick, Martha, in the sense that he is, up until before he was Secretary of Homeland Security, not a lot of contacts on Capitol Hill, which was seen at the outset as one of Reince Priebus' strengths.
It was, George, but General Kelly is well liked on the Hill. He may not be used to any kind of job like the chief of staff, but President Trump is all about those personal relationships. And General Kelly is very good with him. He talks to him easily and apparently tells him what he wants to hear.
Okay, and we've been joined now by our chief White House correspondent, John Carl. Martha was talking about personal relationships right there. Reince Priebus, when Donald Trump was running for president, the Republican National Committee chair, had a kind of back and forth relationship with the president. After he got the nomination, became part of the inner team, became White House chief of staff, but they never gelled.
No, they never really gelled. And remember, Reince Priebus was one of those that went into Donald Trump and said that he should get out of the race when that Access Hollywood tape leaked out. And the president never forgot that. In fact, he's brought it up in recent days in front of others. Remember that, Reince? Remember that, Reince, when you did that? They never really gelled. He was always seen as somebody closer to Paul Ryan, who, of course, the president has never gelled with. And look, this is something that simply had to happen. When you see the way Priebus had been insulted by the new communications director, Anthony Scaramucci, and nobody in that White House to protect him. And nobody, George.
Yeah, we see the picture of them, that little showdown in the Oval Office right there. And there had been several different camps inside the White House. Reince Priebus came in with his chief strategist, Sean Spicer. Of course, Sean Spicer last Friday out of the White House. They never really gelled either with Jared Kushner or Ivanka Kushner or Ivanka Trump. At the same time, Bannon, with Steve Bannon, a back and forth relationship. But after the failure of health care as well, he really had no room to maneuver.
Well, look, you mentioned that one of the reasons to bring Priebus in was he had relations on the Hill. The president was encouraged by Republican leaders on the Hill. He was lobbied by Republican leaders on the Hill to make Priebus his chief of staff. And then his biggest legislative priority, boom, loses last night. What is the argument for keeping Priebus? That said, George, I spoke to one of those that was still aligned with Priebus earlier today, who said that made it clear to me that Priebus did not want to leave on these terms and did not want to leave today.
Well, and especially after that interview with Anthony Scaramucci yesterday. I do want to go to Mary Bruce, our chief congressional correspondent on Capitol Hill. Even as late as this week, Paul Ryan still talking up Reince Priebus.
George, Paul Ryan is a deeply close friend to Reince Priebus. By having Priebus out at the White House, members of the Congress, especially members of the House and Paul Ryan, lose a key bridge here between this Congress and the White House. Paul Ryan and Reince Priebus go all the way back to Wisconsin. They've been friends for decades. And just yesterday, when Paul Ryan was asked about this growing tension in the White House, he made very clear, he said he thinks Reince is doing a great job, and he advised the president to sit down and settle these differences.
And Mary, one other thing we've been seeing on Capitol Hill this week, this comes in the wake, of course, of that very public criticism of the Attorney General by President Trump all through this week. But you saw a real backlash on Capitol Hill, Republican senators warning the president, do not do this.
Yet Republicans up here have been drawing a real red line when it comes to Jeff Sessions. Yesterday, you saw top Republican Lindsey Graham warning the White House, warning the president that if Jeff Sessions were to lose his job, as Lindsey Graham says, there would be hell to pay.
We've got another tweet coming on from Donald Trump right now. He was finishing up his last thought. He's also calling John Kelly a great leader. John has also done a spectacular job at Homeland Security. He has been a true star of my administration. John Carl, one of the successes President Trump touts is the lowering of illegal immigration across the border over the last several months. Gives John Kelly credit for that. Even though the wall is not being built right now, there's some signs now on Capitol Hill there might be some funding there. But one of the things we're seeing here with Anthony Scaramucci coming in, with John Kelly coming in right now, as Martha was alluding to, the president wanting to be surrounded by people he is very comfortable with.
Yeah, and Kelly, make no mistake, has been seen as the MVP of this cabinet. The president has been at odds with his attorney general, at odds with his secretary of state, at odds with his national security advisor, but he has been lockstep with General Kelly. And General Kelly is somebody that was, with him, supported his campaign. He is going back to the loyalists, the people that he is truly careful with, the people that came in with Reince, the RNC, the Republican establishment, for lack of a better way of putting it, people that came into the White House are being pushed out.
And if he stands by Anthony Scaramucci right now in this idea that Scaramucci, the communications director, will be reporting directly to the president, what you're really seeing here is the president wanting to be in control of everything.
Absolutely. And one, I think, critical question here with General Kelly is, who will report to him? Because Reince didn't really have anybody reporting to him. Reince really did not control anything in that West Wing. He is the weakest chief of staff, I think, in my memory, that we have seen.
And the earliest exit we've ever seen of a chief of staff. Martha Raddatz, picking up on one of the points John Carl was just making right there. Just this week, General Mattis, the Pentagon secretary, was informed of the president's decision to put that ban on transgender individuals in the military, but also made no secret that he wasn't happy with it.
Yeah, I don't think Jim Mattis would be a person who was happy with a tweet to try to change policy. And you've heard all of the remarks coming out of the Pentagon saying we're not going to change that policy until we hear more from the president and what that means. General Kelly, on the other hand, has truly been behind whatever President Trump says. I think it surprises many people in the military what an outspoken supporter he has been. And unlike McMaster, as John alluded to, who I think has had a little friction with him, and unlike Jim Mattis, who I also think has had a little friction with him because they can't just stand in lockstep with what President Trump says.
So, John Carl, we're now 190 days in to this White House. The president has a new communications director, a new White House chief of staff coming in this week. We saw his signature Obamacare repeal basically died last night in the Senate. No major legislative achievement. How does he turn it around?
Well, think about it. A national security advisor gone, a press secretary gone, now a chief of staff gone, all within 6 months. I think that what he's hoping for is a restart here. One senior advisor who's still there told me that the next 30 to 60 days are absolutely critical, really are it. If he's going to have a restart, it's got to be now. By the way, George, one thing that strikes me about these tweets, no mention of Reince Priebus.
Not yet. And we're still, the president actually is still, and we see it right there, the president's still on Air Force One. It's just landed in Washington at Joint Base Andrews right now. The president decided to get this done right after speaking with Reince Priebus. Apparently they were alone on the trip back. Anthony Scaramucci did not come back with the president from that speech in Long Island, but he has not left the plane yet. Still tweeting. We're going to keep an eye on that right now. But for right now, we are going to leave you. There'll be much more tonight on World News Tonight with David Muir. And you can also get the latest news anytime by downloading the ABC News app. Have a good afternoon.
It's been a special report from ABC News.